Welcome to Impact Pasadena. We're fortunate to have as our guest today Geoff Baum, who's a journalist and educator, and we've been talking to him a little bit about some of his activities in Pasadena, at the USC Annenberg, in DC, where he was worked on C-SPAN, ABC News, NPR, but lately, one of his most important roles has been with the Board of Governors of the California Community Colleges. And this is a statewide organization. Geoff was appointed by the Governor Schwarzenegger and then reappointed by Jerry Brown. So we're going to talk a little bit more today about community colleges, Pasadena City College, where Geoff was a member of the Board of Trustees. So Geoff, welcome.
Thank you very much, White. Good to be back.
Yeah, thank you. What's the Board of Governors? It's funny because I kept hearing about BOG. It's the BOG.
Right.
And I thought, well, is this like Irish Pete Bog? No, it's the Board of Governors of the California Community Colleges.
Well, actually, the California Community College system is the largest system of higher education in the United States of America, if not the world. We have more than 2 million students. We're about 2.3 million students. There's 72 districts and 113 colleges in the system. Obviously, Pasadena City College is one of those colleges and one of those 72 districts. But the Board of Governors is the state overarching agency that sets standards and interfaces with the state legislature and maintains the integrity and oversight over all the 72 districts and individual colleges.
So is it kind of the board of directors for the community college system, or is that a bad analogy?
We actually have a great system, although it is confusing to some people. We have local control over our community colleges. We feel in California that the decisions and the educational needs of local communities are best determined by locally elected trustees. However, the resources and funding that actually power community colleges and our state higher education system comes from statewide appropriation. We're an $8 billion state agency. And so you need some kind of structure to do that. We're a little different than many people have heard of the University of California and its Board of Regents,
right,
or the California State University. The Cal State system has a Board of Trustees, and we're the Board of Governors for the community college system.
So how does that work? I know there's a chancellor who's like the president of the system, and then you have oversight function over his office. And
we have a robust office, but not as robust as we think it should be given the scope of the system in Sacramento. And we have a chancellor that we hire. The first chancellor that I had the pleasure of working with is somebody known to everybody here in Pasadena. His name is Jack Scott.
Yeah.
He was the president of Pasadena City College, and then he became an elected official in the Assembly and the State Senate. And then when he retired at the State Senate, we were going through a leadership transition statewide, and we needed a leader who was going to put the community colleges front and center into the political dialogue within the state legislature and the governor's office. And he and Arnold Schwarzenegger actually had a very good working relationship. Governor Schwarzenegger was a big advocate of community colleges. He was a graduate of Santa Monica College. And Jack Scott was the chancellor. So the chancellor has both the bully pulpit, but he also has some of the purse strings and the regulations attached. And so we're the ones that can actually make law in the form of what we call the education code, and we regulate the system in that manner.
Okay. Well, I know that California has been a pioneer, really, in terms of community colleges, what used to be called junior colleges or city colleges, and people probably don't realize how dynamic this is for our economy and for the education. People think of the UCs and the Cal State systems, but the junior colleges, probably, I don't know, but you would know, they probably have more students coming through there, and it's more important educationally in a way.
Absolutely. In California, but across the country, the vast majority of people who are going to get any education after high school are going to be getting it through the community college. The vast majority of nurses or allied healthcare workers that you're going to come across when you go to the hospital, or the vast majority of people who respond when there's a fire or an earthquake or there's emergency medical help needed are people who got their training at a community college.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people who you are going to interact with, people you don't even see in our manufacturing sector of our economy, receive training at a community college.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk now about the importance of job creation, and after the Great Recession, the difficulties that people have. And I know it's a very important function of community colleges to transfer people to four-year colleges, but there are also, with the two-year degrees, the workforce degrees, the vocational degrees, that's another great function of, I mean, I've always thought that it's great to have an emphasis on four-year, but a lot of the jobs, the mid-skilled jobs and the things that we depend on, as you say, come out of community college, and that's really part of your mandate.
Yeah, and this is not something, we're terribly excited about, but we're finding a lot of people who go on and get their four-year degrees end up coming back to community college. There are so many forces that are transforming our economy. I was at the Milken Global Conference a couple of weeks ago, and when we talk about the impact of artificial intelligence and robotics that are wiping out entire sectors of jobs, those workers, those people who might have had their four-year degree in one field or another are going to need some kind of retraining. But also, the jobs that you can train for or get educated in at a community college are very lucrative positions. And if colleges are run correctly and appropriately, they're matching their curriculum to the workforce in their region, so that if you need more home health care workers, or you need more early childhood educators, or you need more advanced mechanical design people, you can design that. I visited a campus in Central Valley. It's called West Hills Community College and Coalinga College. They have advanced systems where they monitor the pesticides in the crops and that need to be regulated in order to improve crop yields. They're preparing jobs with community college education that are paying $60,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year that are going unfilled because they can't get the students to go and do those jobs.
Yeah, and I think that people sometimes have thought of vocational education as sort of the poor stepchild, but in a sense, the new manufacturing jobs involve a lot of technology. You need to be highly trained, and it's something that's technical. So it's not just what we would have thought of in the past as blue-collar jobs. And so they pay well, but they also require a level of training beyond high school, for sure, and specifically. What I'm wondering about is, what are some of the challenges for workforce development? Because I know that there's a lot of players and stakeholders in this, and you brought up the issue of matching industry needs with training. So what are your thoughts about some of that?
Obviously, there's going to be a capital investment that's required, and we had a strong workforce task force that looked at some of these issues. First is aligning curriculum. We're more nimble than most, but it still takes a certain amount of time to take an old technology that's been taught over many years and transferring it to a new technology. We had this situation at Pasadena City College. We had a very long tradition of a graphic art design and printing shop. Well, over the years, that technology became all digital. But if we're still running printing presses that use letter type, that's not going to help a student translate into a job when they get out of there. So you have to make some painful decisions about how you retrain and revise curriculum in order to meet the needs of the workforce today.
Right, which involves the faculty and resources, and this is true across the board, wouldn't you say? Automotive, manufacturing,
absolutely,
medical.
And somebody who's a great engineer or mechanic that could fix anything on a car 30 years ago may not have the same. They need to be able to train the students on how to fix the car that comes off the the assembly line last year.
Yeah. Well, the other issue that's come up nationally, I think, and by the way, I think that under the Obama administration, at least, community colleges really came to the fore as a pathway for towards good jobs, but affordability, and that's a broad issue. But I've seen studies that say that for community college students, they're sort of on they get it on the short end of the stick in terms of some of the federal Pell Grant programs and things like that. So what are, and there are many components to affordability, what are some of those that you can talk about, and how are you addressing those?
Well, first and foremost, California is the most affordable system of higher education in the nation. We have the lowest unit tuition rate at $46 a unit. More than half the students that go to college in California have a complete free ride, free scholarship. It's called a Board of Governors fee waiver, but it's really a full ride scholarship. And so it's not the cost of tuition that is the barrier of entry for a student to continue. What really is the toughest thing for students is the cost of living while going to college. And we know that if a student is going to be successful, if they can even complete one semester of school as a full-time student, they increase their chances of getting their degree exponentially. But we have to give them the ability to go to school full-time, and that means where are they going to live? How are they going to buy food? How are they going to get to school? How are they going to pay for their books? How are they going to take care of their children if they happen to be a working parent? So that's the challenge, and we continue to lobby Washington about the Pell Grant. There is some good news with the latest budget that the Education Department looks like it's creating a year-round Pell Grant eligibility. It used to be not year-round, and so that means that students studying in the summer wouldn't have access to that.
It might clarify a little bit on the Pell Grants. These are federal grants that
Yes.
help, they're scholarships in effect, but there are limitations on it that impact community college students
Right.
who may be part-time, for example.
And the same thing is we're working at the state level and trying to expand the definition, the eligibility for various California Cal Grant programs too. But we need to find other ways to make the ability to go to college more affordable. And I don't know if that's through credits or incentives or how, but we need to make those resources available to students without getting them deeply into debt, because that's my big concern too, is that students may get a degree, but if they're saddled with this terrible debt burden, it's going to smother their ability to be able to pursue the career for which they were prepared or trained. And
all of us who are parents know about that problem.
And there's a lot of predatory lending practices that just make it very difficult for students to get.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as you know, the average college student, a community college student, might be working 30 hours a week at Starbucks. They got to study, they got to do their papers, and they may be contributing to their family.
Right.
So the affordability, I think, why don't you talk about the Pasadena promise a little bit? In Pasadena, we've had come up with some solutions to this problem.
Well, I mean, I'm very proud of Pasadena, and our new chancellor, Eloy Oakley, came from Long Beach City College, and they were a pioneer in this effort called the Long Beach Promise. And what does that mean? You could explain it as well as I can, but what it does is send a message to students. Anybody in the Pasadena Area Community College District, and that's not just Pasadena, that's Temple City, that's Arcadia, that's La Cañada Flint Ridge, that's Altadena, that's Sierra Madre, San Marino, South Pasadena. If they go to a school in Pasadena, in the Pasadena Area Community College District, any of our feeder high schools, South Pass, San Marino, La Cañada, and graduate, they are guaranteed tuition-free access to Pasadena City College. And my hope is, and also we worked with Assemblymember Holden on this, not only can they have access to college at no cost, at least for tuition and fees when they get out, maybe they can even start accumulating some degrees while they're in high school. So they graduate high school with a diploma, and that's with a college transcript. And that's the big push that we're doing statewide now. It's called Guided Pathways. And the state has committed $150 million for us to create a guided pathway. We started the community college system trying to be all things to all people and giving these students this vast menu of options. You could be whatever you want to be. But it's like giving too many options to a 17 or 18-year-old whose family might not even gone to college.
Yeah.
We now are implementing programs statewide, and I know PCC is a leader in this, to say, let's start off by just taking the step. What is your goal when you get out of high school? First off, we want you to think about going to college, not when you're in high school, but when you're in junior high or elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what is that goal? Do you want to transfer to a four-year school? Do you want to go to USC? Do you want to go to UCLA? Do you want to go to a California State University? Do you see a career that you would be fan? And then work back from there, and then give that student and kind of and create an environment where they see a clear path to that objective.
Yeah, and I want to ask about that. Just as a footnote, it's not just high school students from Pasadena, but also veterans. Anyone who is honorably discharged from the service and goes right into community college will also in Pasadena get a. Mm-hmm. Now, pathways. Mm-hmm. You're talking about mm-hmm. the pathway from junior high school to community college. Mm-hmm. And there are actually, under Chris Holden's leadership, Assembly Member Holden, we passed the Pathways program. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, again, first off, there was, and again, what you want to be able to do is take classes when you're in high school, even though you're a high school student and the state is paying your high school for you to be a student there. But you also want to not discourage students from taking community college classes, and sometimes, and Pasadena City College does this. There are certain classes that the faculty will go to the high school site and offer that instruction, and students can start accumulating college credit. But then you have to pay for that, and so then the college is going to also collect some revenue for that for those credits that those students earn. There was some barriers to being able to pay for that, and so there was creating an economic disincentive. Through the Holden legislation, as I understand it, now those barriers have been removed, and colleges can have and local schools can have something what we call concurrent enrollment, so that student is moving along in that path, and hopefully will go on. And you said something about affordability I want to come back to. The most affordable way, education is expensive, and state and taxpayer resources are not unlimited. More and more families are finding that it's better to send their student to a community college for the first 2 years. They're going to be in less debt, they're going to be in smaller classes, and they're often going to get as good, if not better, instruction, and then transfer to the four-year college of their choice. And then still graduate with that degree from that selective university that everybody wants to have on their transcript. And it also makes a lot of sense for the state of California that, more than half of the Cal State University graduates, and I think a third of the UC graduates did start at a community college. It's a bargain for the state, but it yields tremendous returns.
Yeah, I know, and I think that in all classes and all kind of demographics in society, it used to be junior college was your second choice, or if you can get into a USC, Cal State, or you can get to a private college, you'll do that. But because of the expense now, people are realizing, hey, community colleges is not only a great bargain, but it's a great education. I taught, my first teaching job was at PCC, and I had the best students that I had, better than I had later on at UCLA, I have to say. So people realize the quality of the education, but the affordability is really a big thing.
One of the things I want, speaking of that too, and what we'd like to see some improvement. One is we've made tremendous strides in creating that pathway between the community college and the California State University system. PCC has been a leader. We call them associate degrees for transfer. And you can take a specific set of classes, and if you graduate and pass those classes, you're guaranteed junior class status at a California State University. We want the same thing at the UC system. The UC system has been trying to align their colleges, but we want to be able to have a program that if you're a student at Pasadena City College and your objective is to go to a University of California, you take these prescribed classes, you get this GPA, you have that admission pathway. And we got to keep that promise to our students.
Yeah, I noticed a piece in the LA Times saying that you've really made some progress on that too.
Yeah.
They were saying SC, for example, taking a lot.
Yeah, and I will toot the horn of USC. Among selective universities, private selective universities, nobody has done a more deliberate and welcomed transfer students and community college students in the University of California, Southern California, because USC believes in this region and bringing together the very best students from all around and making opportunity available to come to USC.
So let's shift it to education funding for a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are local, state, and federal issues and controversies about funding education. What's the bottom line for the community colleges now in terms of our financial health?
Well, it's actually encouraging. The message through, you've been involved with the community college system for a while, I've been involved with the system for a while. We had been explaining and carrying these messages for many years to deaf ears. Other segments, other priorities took over. But we said we're willing to reform ourselves, but we need the resources to show that we can deliver on that promise. The state, the governor of California, Geoffrey Baum, has heard that message. He sees and believes in the system, and so the latest budget that they may revise also has additional resources for community colleges, and that's a far cry from when I joined the Board of Governors, where we were having we were in a state economic crisis. PCC had to do a mid-year budget cut of about $2 million, and that's when you had that situation where many people were watching this and know their family members couldn't even get classes. And I'm going to just share the tragedy of what happened in 09, 10, and 11 was that kids were graduating high school and there wasn't a place for them to go. And we've assessed that there are hundreds of thousands of young people that they never got enrolled in any college, never had access to higher education. What happened to those students? That didn't help our economy, I'll tell you that. Right. And it didn't help our social fabric as well.
Well, sort of on that subject, one of the things that I've been impressed about at PCC is the diversity of the student population. I mean, it's a real reflection of the diversity of California and the strength of our population. But it presents unique challenges because you have English language, you have immigrant students, you have students whose families have no experience with higher education. There are issues for counseling issues of how to get people through this. So what are sort of the strengths and challenges of diversity in the community colleges, including faculty hiring?
Yeah, no, again, well, first off, PCC is a magnet, as you know. We have much more enrollment from outside the district than we have inside the district, and that's because it's of the caliber of the institution. Everybody who wants to go to a community college or sees an opportunity for a foothold in a great community college education wants to go to PCC. I think it's obviously something that to be mindful of, but it's something to be celebrated. We are, and there's Pasadena City College is the model, and the California community college system is a model that should be looked to for worldwide. In other countries, students of different races, ethnicities, religions, genders aren't sitting together in a room. I've had an opportunity to do a couple of accreditation visits to countries in the Middle East, and to see our students working in teams, working on projects, working with faculty of all stripes in a peaceful, harmonious, productive way is such a miracle in the world today that we should continue to celebrate it. That doesn't mean we kind of take our foot off the gas pedal when it comes to recruiting faculty who better reflect the enrollment of the student body, but it's not something that we should feel bad about, we should feel like, wow, what a great place this is.
Yeah, and I think that people probably in California don't realize what a leader California is in the junior. Not everybody has such a great deal as we have in California. Just on Pasadena City College for a second, because they've been through a lot of challenges in terms of accreditation, and you've been in, and some turnover. But my sense of it is that they're forward-looking and things have improved. How do you see, what is sort of your vision for Pasadena City College going forward in the think out 10 years or so?
Yeah, sure. No, obviously the challenge, not just at PCC, but across the system, is the leadership challenge. How do you recruit and develop a group of leaders because these are complex institutions with lots of employees and lots of stakeholders, and the community is a stakeholder, the faculty are stakeholders, the students are stakeholders. How do you take these complex organizations and we pay competitively, but we don't pay generously? You know, our president at Pasadena City College makes a fraction of what a UC president makes, for example. Right. And I'm not advocating for huge raises there too, but we need to continue to incentivize good leaders, committed leaders, mission-driven leaders, and organizational-driven leaders to take on those administrative leadership positions. Because one of the things that's a challenge is if you're a faculty member teaching your class load, there's not a lot of incentive for you to then take the next step and go and become a dean or a vice president, because you're just going to inherit a lot of headaches, a lot of frustrations without, you know, a significant measure of respect or reward that goes with it.
Well, Jeff, you know, this has been so enlightening, not only for statewide issues, but for Pasadena. And I just want to thank you as one of the great leaders in Pasadena for all that you do and for the intelligence and perspective that you bring on it. And thank you for being our first guest on Impact Pasadena.
I'm thrilled. This has been an honor.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good to see you. This program was produced by Pasadena Media for the Arroyo Channel.